Hello, hi students. Today in this class you are going to learn about the methods of bread making. There are 5 different methods of bread making. They are straight dough method, salt delayed method, no time dough method, sponge and dough method, and ferment and dough method. At first you are going to see what is straight dough method. Straight dough method is a method in which all the ingredients necessary for a plain bread is mixed together. All the ingredients are mixed together all at once, and the remaining step by step process is followed. Before we moving on to the methods of bread making in detail, first we will have a look at what are the step by step process involved in each method, except in few changes. The step by step process involved in straight dough method is number 1, weighing and measurement. The first and foremost thing for any bakery recipe is to follow the accurate weighing and measurement. It is unlike cooking. Bakery is like a mathematics. The accuracy helps in bringing out the quality final product or end product. So most of the time we follow metric units for measurement, weighing and measurement, rather than cups and spoons. So we give more importance to the accuracy, because 1 liter water is not equal to 1 kilogram. If you have any doubt, you can just experiment it. How much is 1 liter water? And 1 cup of flour is not same when it comes to 1 cup of sugar or salt. Based on the mass, the weight changes. So as it is like a mathematics, the accuracy is important. So we follow metric units measurement. So first thing is the accuracy in weighing and measurement. First you should write all the ingredients carefully. I will tell you the basic recipe for a bread. Flour 450 grams, sugar 30 grams, salt 10 grams, yeast 10 grams, fat, that is your margarine, 30 grams, and 250 ml of water. As in the previous class I told you, the hard wheat flour which is required for bread or any yeast fermented products, it absorbs more than 65% moisture. So the recipe is designed in such a fashion that 250 ml of water we add to make a normal plain bread dough. When I talk about bread dough, I would like to tell you what is dough. Dough is generally a mass or a mixture made out of the combination of ingredients such as flour, water, sugar, salt, and any other ingredients. Depends on the recipe, or depend on the type of product you make. And when it comes to fermented dough, the addition of yeast, biological leavening agent, is a must to get proper aeration. So we can classify the doughs into different types. Number 1 is fermented dough, yeast fermented dough, or non-fermented dough. In fermented dough itself, for the breads we make different kinds of dough. They are, number 1, lean dough. Lean dough is nothing but the dough without any fat content is called as lean dough. Rich dough. Rich dough is a dough made out of rich ingredients where you can add fat, butter, margarine. You can enrich it with oil. You can add extra sugar, milk, eggs. Then it is called as rich dough. Then plain dough. It's a regular normal dough which you make for the simple breads like bread rolls. Slightly you increase the quantity of sugar, you will be able to make dinner rolls. And for the regular sandwich breads, this is the recipe what I told you. So the first thing is weighing and measurement. In weighing and measurement, the accuracy. Number two, you have to check the quality of raw materials which are to be used in the bread. Sometimes there are possibility for the flour to get contaminated with other ingredients like traces of fatty particles, margarine, oil, or sometimes there are possibility for the flour to get spoilage by insects, bugs, ants, and there are possibility for the flour to be with the inferior quality. So being a baker, it is necessary for you to have a great knowledge about the quality of the flour. So you have to identify a very good supplier and check the brand which has the quality of bread making. So select such a beautiful brand suitable for making breads and purchase the flour and check for the quality, then accurately weigh all the raw ingredients, not only the flour. Similarly, the sugar may be contaminated with the fat or margarine, salt may be contaminated or mixed with the sugar, and the water, the quality of water is also more important. If the water is so hot or the pH level of water is low or high, it will have an adverse effect on the final product. So the second step is your mixing and kneading. The second step is mixing and kneading. Mixing and kneading has got 4 stages. Stage number 1, pickup stage or absorption stage. This is a stage in which all the moisture is absorbed. Not only water, any other ingredients like milk or egg which has got fairly good enough of moisture content in it. So all this moisture is absorbed by flour. So you should ensure all 100% water, that is the moisture, is added to the flour and continuously it has to be mixed and slowly start kneading the dough. So the first step is mixing and kneading. Mixing and kneading has got 4 stages. After pickup or absorption stage, the next stage is cleanup stage. Initially the dough will be sticking to your finger and hand, being inconvenient to knead the dough. Later on, when you continuously knead it, it will start cleaning up. So it will clean up from your finger and hands, and it will become little bit easy to knead the dough. So when you continue to knead it, you will reach into a stage called cleanup stage. Next to cleanup stage, there is a stage called development stage. Development stage is one of the crucial stages and very important for yeast fermented products because the gluten develops in that stage. First, you should know what is gluten. Gluten is a flour protein composed of glutenin and gliadin. So we prefer to use hard wheat flour for the production of all yeast fermented products. This is because of the percentage of gluten in the flour. The hard wheat flour will have 10.5 to 11.5 percentage of good quality protein. The flour protein is called as gluten, which is composed of glutenin and gliadin. The gluten should develop in this stage. That is the reason why we call it as development stage. If you are not kneading the dough up to the development stage, we end up getting a inferior quality bread. We end up getting an inferior quality bread. So how do you identify the dough is developed into that stage, whether the gluten is developed or not? After making the dough, take a piece of dough and put it in a bowl of water, and you keep washing the dough, remove all the possible starch from the dough. At the end, you will be able to get a rubbery like substance that is nothing but gluten. If the gluten structure is very good, it is developed. Also, there is one more test. You take a piece of dough, just roll it and stretch it with your finger. Now, how do you understand whether the dough is reached into development stage or not? After kneading the dough, take a piece of dough, roll it in your hands, just stretch it and pull the sides outwards. If you are able to stretch it without getting teared, and if you are able to make it into a transparent thin film, which means the dough is developed. Once the dough is developed, stop the kneading process. If you continue to knead it, it will go into another stage, that is the fourth stage, called as letting down stage, which is not at all preferable for the breads. Once the dough is reached into development stage, you have to stop kneading the dough and cover it with a damp cloth to prevent it from dehydration or skin formation and getting the dough dried up. Should not allow the dough to get dried up, so that it is required to cover it with a damp cloth. Usually in bakery and confectionery, there will be proofing cabinets with a set temperature, so they can keep it in proofing chambers. Here, now the step is first proofing. What is proofing? Proofing is a method in which dough is kept at an ideal temperature of 32 degrees Celsius with a relative humidity of 65% and allowing it to ferment for a predetermined time. So proofing is nothing but it's a process in which the dough is kept at an ideal temperature of 32 degrees Celsius with a relative humidity of 65%, allowing the dough to ferment for a predetermined time. This is an important definition, proofing. What is proofing? Usually it is carried out by proofing cabinets. They are chambers with a set temperature and humidity conditions. We can set and adjust the temperature, depends on the type of yeast fermented product we make. It varies from breads to croissants and Danish pastry. So for breads, this is the ideal temperature. I told you 32 degrees Celsius and 65% humidity is the ideal temperature conditions. Now, what is fermentation? Fermentation is a process in which yeast reacts with the sugar to form ethyl alcohol and carbon dioxide under favorable conditions. The favorable conditions are yeast require food. What is yeast food? Yeast food is sugar and moistness and the temperature and humidity. In that conditions, yeast ferments in a stable way and the dough gets required fermentation. So the step-by-step process of bread making are: number 1, weighing and measurement; number 2, mixing and kneading; number 3, first proofing; after that we will go into a step called punching and knockback. What is the purpose of punching and knockback, and why we are doing punching and knockback to the dough? During the time of fermentation, there are possibility for the production of gases unevenly. Also, the yeast cells gets accumulated into different parts of the dough. So what we are going to do is, we just tap the dough and knock back once again, just tap it. This is done just to remove the excess air pockets and also evenly redistribute the yeast. And we again cover the dough with a damp cloth and allow it for intermediate proofing for about 30 to 40 minutes. Then the step is dividing and rounding. Depends on the weight of the bread you require. You have to divide the dough by using a weighing measure. You can make 350 grams bread or 450 grams bread or even 60 grams bread rolls. According to your requirement, you have to divide the dough, round it. You have to divide the dough, measure it, round it, and the next step is molding and panning. If it is a roll, you can arrange it on greased trays, and if it is a bread, you can put the measured dough in the greased bread pans. Then allow it for final proofing for about 30 to 40 minutes till it reaches thrice its volume. After that, giving egg wash, baking. Once the dough is baked, the bread is baked with a very good brown golden color, it can be removed, cooled, sliced, packed, and it is sold. In case of bread rolls, there is no requirement of slicing, just cooling and sending it for service in bread baskets. Hope you all understood about the step-by-step process of bread making in detail for straight dough method, and we have other methods too. And once you know the step-by-step process involved in straight dough method, it will be easy for you to do the other method with a slight variance, slight difference. The addition of ingredients may change according to the method. And still, if you have any queries, doubts, you can feel free and message me. I will be happy to clarify your doubts. Thank you so much. Now you have learned thoroughly about straight dough method and the step-by-step process involved in straight dough method. The next method is salt delayed method. There is only one difference in this method. It is very similar to your straight dough method, except the salt. All the ingredients are added and the bread is made. Once the salt is not added, we will not add margarine or fat also into the dough. So we will not add margarine also into the dough because we require a medium to incorporate the salt and mix it into the dough uniformly. Do you know why we don't add salt in salt delayed method? In the basic commodities or ingredients in making bread, or the role of ingredients in making bread, you might have studied the functions of salt. Once again I repeat, the main function of salt in bread production is not only giving taste to the product. The main function of salt in yeast fermented product is it controls the fermentation process. It keeps the yeast to activate in a slow and steady manner so that over fermentation doesn't take place. So salt is not added initially to get faster fermentation, and once we add salt into the dough, it will become very difficult for us to uniformly mix the salt into the dough, as it has got predetermined quantity or percentage of moisture content in it. So we don't add the margarine also. We just cream the salt into the margarine, and the margarine we will add it into the dough at the time of punching and knockback. So the remaining process is similar as in straight dough method. We do not add two ingredients. One is salt, the other one is margarine or any other fat like butter or oil. When we add salt at the time of punching and knockback, we mix the salt thoroughly into the margarine or butter, and we incorporate the fat into the dough at the time of punching and knockback. So we are able to get little faster fermentation. The next one is no time dough method. This method is not usually followed, but still this method is useful when it comes to some emergency order. If there is a running order, or 2000 3000 rolls in a cruise galley got over and immediately they want to make bread within a short duration of time, they add 3 times more quantity yeast to the bread dough. Say for example, in a regular bread recipe we add 10 grams of yeast. Here in no time dough method, 30 grams of yeast is added to make the fermentation faster and to bake the rolls faster. There is a disadvantage in this method. Breads made of this method will not have a proper keeping quality. For emergency use, it can be followed. And if you want to keep the bread for 3 or 4 hours, there are possibility the breads gets stale faster. And also breads made of this method will have an unpleasant aroma. It will have a unpreferable flavor to the product. During some emergency time, we can follow this method. The next is sponge and dough method. This is a method wherever we use too strong flour, we have to follow this method. Here, the total fermentation time is divided into 2 segments into the ratio of 60% to 70%. 60 or 70% dough is separately made. Here, in this sponge and dough method, sponge refers to dough. It's a plain dough, only with flour, sugar, yeast and little bit of salt. So 60% of bread formula, the sponge is made separately only with plain ingredients, and once after fermentation, the complex ingredients or the excess ingredients or the remaining ingredients are added. So 60% to 70% is used for the sponge, normal bread formula, and then broken down with water and then evenly mixed with the remaining flour, sugar, salt and fat.